My name is Jim Hayter, and I'm from East Sussex, England.
You know, the very essence of the mental game is this. The only reason an event matters is because we make it matter.
Welcome to the Mullins Farrier Podcast.
Every horse, whatever it was doing, had a season. Once their competition season finished, they took the shoes off, they chucked it out in the field with some other horses, and it had a 2, maybe 3 months period where it went and remembered what being a horse was all about.
Even in a cheaper area, your prices should be set by your skill level, by your experience. And some people might not feel that they're worth, as much as others. But if you're only charging $160 to shoe a horse, then the only way you're making money is on your trims.
The WCB was a way to make sure that you kept the trade alive. I think I'm a custodian of the trade, so it's like we have to keep it going.
It was hard, but you adapt and overcome, and that probably gets to me where I am now. It's problem solving, horseshoeing's problem solving, and back in the day it was problem solving how to be as strong as the older apprentices. So it's all about adapting and overcoming, which was good.
I know we learn every day, but you do have to put yourself outside the box and just continue to learn, which is why I was just trying to do my fellowship, because I still have apprentices, and if I stay at my AW, I'm stagnant.
Welcome, everyone. A little shopkeeping before we start. Dr. Simon Curtis is hosting another live webinar, and this one is the Veterinary Hoof Care webinar, featuring Simon, Hans Castellans, and Simon Moore. The topic is the overlap of hoof care and veterinary science, and it will be held on Wednesday, June the 5th. Here is their description. There is an eternal triangle of farrier, vet, and owner. Each side of this is essential. The more that we understand each other's different knowledge and skill sets, the better it is for the horse and owner. We all know that good communication is the secret to business success. It is also a way to reduce conflict and frustration in our everyday work. It is important that veterinary professionals know what hoof care specialists can achieve, but also what the limits are. This reduces unreasonable expectations and allows for a smoother relationship between vets, farriers, trimmers, and owners/trainers. A mutual respect for each other and understanding of skills and knowledge can only benefit all parties. Go to eventbrite.co.uk and search for the Veterinary Hoof Care webinar. And don't forget to use the discount code Mullins at checkout. And now for today's guest. As you will hear, I met Jim a few times by this point through my travels across the pond to Stoneleigh, as well as to the World Championships in Calgary. And each time he was accompanied by his son, George. As will become quite clear during the interview, Jim is quite proud of his son and all that he has accomplished. And when you speak to George, the endearing thing is that street runs both ways. While I haven't had an opportunity to sit down and interview George as well, I foresee that happening the next time our paths cross. While Jim was quite busy with his duties as the judge for the apprentice teams, he still managed to whittle off a little bit of time for us to sit down and have this chat. It was a genuine pleasure to get to know this man a little bit better. I hope you enjoy the conversation as much as I did. You are here for a very important role this weekend.
I am.
As the judge for the apprentices, right? Now, your son is who I met you through, basically. He talked to me quite a bit last year.
Yeah.
He was competing on the apprentice team,
He
was
was,
he not?
yes. Yeah, George, yeah.
I met you guys again in Calgary, and you were both competing there.
Yeah.
And I imagine competing's fairly big for you guys.
Yeah, it's always been a passion of mine, and is now following on. George is passionate about it too.
Yeah.
So, which is great to get to work with your boy.
Yeah, no kidding. He did his apprenticeship with you, did he not?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we were kind of talking this morning just about him actually beating you at a competition.
That's
lately.
correct, yeah. Yeah, he's come in front of me at the last weekend at Gary Highland's Forge. tool and fullered on the foot. You know, it's a big thing that. Get a bit of square out, right size, right
Yeah.
depth fullering, you know, not too coarse, not too fine. It's for the amount of tool and fullering he's done, I was so chuffed, so pleased.
Yeah.
You know,
Good for you.
he deserved it.
You had said he actually apologized to you, but
He did, but you know, I'm chuffed to bits that I've achieved my goal of getting my son to a standard where he's able to come in front of me. So I think my job is done.
yeah,
Or
of course.
achieved.
Yeah, right. For sure.
Yeah.
Now, how did that work? Were there difficulties in having your son work for you?
Obviously, I've spoken to many people and they said, oh, it's going to be awkward and that sort of thing. But George, to be fair to him, has always been a good boy.
Right.
There's the odd thing that he feels he knows best, especially when he was a teenager or whatever. I
We
just
all go
raised
through
my
that stage.
eyebrows and let him learn.
Yeah.
We've barely had a crossword, to be fair,
Really?
through the apprenticeship. So it's really good.
Cool. And how do you guys work the balance of working and then competing on top of that and finding time to practice for competing?
It's full on. You know, you have to make time.
You're right.
We're lucky we have our forge at home, so we don't have to drive to it. You know, we just step out of our door and into it. That really does help practice-wise. If it means it, you've got to get up earlier, got to get the shoeing out of the way to give the hours in the forge,
Right.
or get in there proper early, depending on how it works. We don't have immediate neighbours, but they have come down and sort of mentioned that 11:30 at night is taking their piss.
Right. Yeah.
So we have a curfew now. And it's a 9 o'clock stop, or we shut the doors,
Right.
which makes it awfully hot, but deadens the sound.
Right. And keeps the neighbors happy.
Keeps them happy. That's it.
When you say get up early, will you practice in the morning, work, and then practice in the evening?
If that's what we need, to do. To be fair, in the morning, we're normally getting shoes ready for the day. Stuff needs clipping or even turning. We try to make as many shoes as we possibly can, our concave.
Oh, okay.
There's always stuff to do in the morning. So if you're practicing in the night and you didn't get time to set the van up and everything, get ready for the next day, then you've got to get up earlier and just get that done so you can run your day on time, get back. There's nothing worse than getting back at 6:30, 7 o'clock at night and then starting to practice. You're tired, you haven't had tea yet. You just got to fit it in.
Yeah.
If you want it, you do it and you get through. You have to have understanding partners.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I imagine so. In you saying that you have to want it, do you find that the competing, there's just a drive there? It's interesting because not many people have a job where then the job becomes also a component of their hobby. Is it the competition itself that drives, or where do you think that passion comes from?
The forge has always been my passion.
Has it? Okay.
I love shoeing horses, but if I could stay all day in the forge, I would.
Right.
If I could go back to earlier days, when my father was alive, he used to shoe a lot in the forge. And if I could go back to that, that would suit me down to the ground.
Really? Yeah.
Being in the forge is my passion. So the preparation, practice, and that sort of thing, I love all that. Working your sizes out, your heats, your timing.
Yeah.
Working all that out, and then George would come in and put the kibosh over all of that because he's faster and he hits metal a lot harder than I do.
Oh, okay.
Nowadays.
So everything you have sussed out goes out the window.
Yeah, or he'll just make it the other way around. Do the inside first. And I'm like, what? He's young and he has some good ideas and it can save us time. Sometimes I'm a bit tunnel vision with how I've always done stuff. He comes in and he doesn't have tunnel vision with anything.
Okay.
Everything's outside the box. He's always looking from outside the box.
Right. So you're both learning.
I learned so much from him and all my apprentices. To be fair, I'm teaching them, but I learn a little bit from all of them,
Mm-hmm.
which is, again, something I've always enjoyed, passing on knowledge.
Yeah, I think you said this morning you've had probably 20 or more
Yeah,
apprentices?
it's getting towards that way, yeah.
Is it? Yeah. And is that something you took on right from go?
I did the first number of years on my own, which I was very successful competition-wise as an apprentice. I was very successful. I did my time at the same time as a very good friend of mine, Stevie Fisher. You probably heard of Stevie. And he was just phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal as apprentices going on. If he won it, I came second. If I won it, he came second. It was like that through our apprenticeship. I came and I qualified, and I was kind of on my own, stabbing in the dark a bit. It's a big step from apprentice classes. They do a lot more now. Apprentices do a lot more team and having a go at shoeing classes and that sort of thing. I didn't get quite as much of that as an apprentice. So I passed my diploma very well. I thought I can do this.
Yeah.
I know how to trim feet. I know how to make shoes. I know how to shoe horses. I can do this. Nowhere. For 6, 7 years. Not a dicky bet. Not what we call, George and I have our wall of achievements.
Right.
George's is nearly as big as mine. Mine's 30 years. His is 4. We put on the wall firsts and seconds. That's what we call a ticket. And I didn't get a first or a second for 6 years. And I very nearly quit.
Really?
Yeah, very nearly gave that up.
Now, quit competing or quit shoeing altogether?
Quit competing, yeah. I can't do much else. I have to go and shoot.
Right.
So I very nearly gave up. I thought, I haven't got it. Thought I did, don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And I spoke to a very good friend of mine, the judge today, Andrew Castley.
Oh.
He said, have you thought about training? I said, no. He said, I think you'd be good at it. He filled in a form for me, an application, saying that he felt that I'd be a good prospect for training. We went from there, and I started training my first lad. Gave me a lot more time in the forge because I was trained on handmade, so I just carried on in my business. So we had made most of our shoes. And I started to get back to when you're having to show someone else, you realise what you're not doing, where you've dropped off, those little bits you've missed and that sort of thing, because you're showing someone else and you've got to show them right.
Right.
My dad, many quotes, if it ain't right, it's wrong, son. I'm showing them and I'm thinking, I've not been doing that. Been skipping that. So from then on, my first year of training, I got my first red card at competition, got the buzz back.
Yeah.
So here it's been since.
That's pretty interesting. Now, was there anybody else that in competing and now you're training other farriers, did you have any mentors like Andrew that you would train yourself with?
Yes, many. I've been very lucky to have known Andrew, Gary Darlow, Jim Blurton, Billy Crothers, Grant Moon. Those guys were competing, Richard Ellis. They're all competing at the time when I was sort of starting out. They were top of their game. If you can't learn from watching them guys,
right?
Listening to what they say, because everybody's good for advice.
Yeah.
Derek Gardner, just some things they say,
mm-hmm.
and you're just like, yes, take that.
Now, is this through them judging and?
Yeah, that's through them judging and competing. You get to a competition and something's happened and what have you, and someone like Craig Trinker was over years ago. He's turned out at a competition and he didn't have a striker for a class.
Mm-hmm.
And he just looked at me and said, can you strike? I said, sure. And this was before Facebooks and all that malarkey.
Yeah.
So yeah. I knew him because Billy brought him over and did a massive clinic here at Stoneleigh, actually, when he had his mohawk and, his tram lines and everything else. And I was blown away by the guy, absolutely blown away by him. And then the next time I meet him, I'm striking for him. His round is now in my hands.
No pressure.
No pressure, I don't want to burn his metal and I don't want to strike wrong.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. Never worked with him, but at the end he shook my hand and he said, that was fine. That was enough for me. And I learned so much.
Yeah, you would in a round.
He just said, can you have a look down that foot? shit, I'm going to look down Craig Trinker's trim.
What am I going to tell him?
Well, yeah, what am I going to tell him? Luckily, in my opinion, you got it spot on.
Yeah. I've often wondered this because in North America, we clearly don't have the training program that you guys do. And then for a North American like him to come across and teach a clinic here, how different was the style? Were the techniques? Was it very similar to what you guys were already doing here, or did he bring over a different wealth?
Craig brought Craig, so that was all I was blown away. He had the golden means.
Right.
I'd not heard of it before. He blew us away with that and the proof of it. You know, he had his golden means calipers and he just bump, 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 bump. It just sort of worked. He made his shoes through it. He actually, at that clinic, made a beautiful roadster. He was asked to put a roadster on behind, cork and wedge roadster. He actually said the first time he went to the foot, he put his pritchling, went to the foot, he got his toe completely wrong. He said, I'll be honest, I've made hundreds of these and I've never put one on a foot. He had made that mistake. We all watched that. He told us he made that mistake. Yeah, go back to the anvil, alter his toe, make it the toe of the horse.
Of that horse, yeah.
Not of a, beautiful specimen toe. And again, that's like something I've learned that. I don't have to make that. At that point, I wasn't putting roasters on feet. I've done many now, but it always rings in my mind, that toe shape, make that toe shape. Because once you jump the shit out of a toe, altering it is hard.
Right, yeah.
So,
yeah.
Turn it right.
Get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very educational. He brought conservation of the hoof. You know, you can't take down and back. He was very strong on that. We have, which I'm sure you have, pressure, veterinarians and what have you, going by the book. Oh, this toe needs to be here.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this lifetime, it's not. Hey, you got half a ton of horse, it's got a stand on it, and you've just, another one of my father's saying, it doesn't matter how much you rape and pillage that toe, boy. Have you ever thought it might need it? No, these have got to come back, Dad. These have got to come back. No, leave it, son. It's grown it for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We do get pressured into trying to make an idyllic shape of a hoof, trying to get hoof past an axis back, correct, and all this sort of thing. And Craig came along and reinforced some ways that I was taught how to shorten a toe, and it's not by getting it on the peg and raping it back.
Right. What are some of those ways that you do it?
In my opinion, if you look at your white line, that is a true shape of your hoof, and they're a lot more pointy.
Yep.
For one, I hate that word, pointy.
Yeah.
But they are a lot more pointed than what we tend to make them.
Mm-hmm.
That was the way I was taught. You make that shoe the shape of that white line.
The white line, yeah.
We made our shoes and did a lot of cold shoeing out in my apprenticeship. I trained with my cousin, Pete Marley, and he was a stickler for shape. It's got to be that shape, otherwise we're not nailing it and you won't keep those walls strong.
Right.
We never got things back like we're encouraged to do nowadays and stuff. We always had strong feet, centre of section. If it's centre of section, it fits. I think a lot of the time we're pressured into making something out of a hoof that it isn't. And we're compromising it. And Craig, on that day, he shod the front foot with a toe much more like what I was trained to put on.
Right. So it kind of reinforced
it. Yeah. No, if this man is saying he's a believer in purchase rather than so much breakover. Yes, of course they break over, but they do want a bit of purchase on that ground. Certain styles, that's very far back. The point of breakover, they tend to start diving out to the outside toe to the corner of that said shoe to purchase the ground, in my belief.
So that's why you see that wear so far
over, because they're actually trying to grab the ground. And when you've taken it back so far, it's gone.
Right. So it's interesting. My background, shape was not reinforced. Toes were set back. Basically, all the things you just talked about. And it's interesting, since learning how to properly forge and how to properly fit to a foot, what a difference that has made in the feet. I remember interviewing Derek Gardner, and he said, like, he did that one class. It was a heavy horse class, and he'd made this beautiful round shoe. And the judge told him, you didn't follow the foot. That's not what the foot looks like. And he said, make them pointy, which we all hate using that word, but that has stuck in my head. And I've really tried to focus on that. And feet do look more upright.
Yeah.
Even to the eye.
If you get the toe the right shape.
Yes. I really believe that the end of the cycle really shows you whether or not you've hit your mark or not. And when you see that they still have that look, like that it hasn't gone so far the wrong direction.
Yep.
And I found it more and more as I followed the shape of that toe. But man, was it a struggle to go from not caring
to, fitting the toe is one of the hardest parts.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like my boss Pete said, you know, you're coming off the toe. If you've come off the toe right, the rest of it is just together. Knocking on or bringing out.
Right.
The toe has got to be the fit.
Mm-hmm.
For the last nearly 30 years, I've been concentrating on that.
As your career has progressed and you shoe that way, and I'm sure you must have had some run-ins with vets over things like that. How did you approach those situations?
I've gone down the route of actually losing clients through standing my ground. So I backed off. As a younger man, I had bills to pay and stuff. I can't afford to lose a yard just because I'm spitting my dummy out about how things are being done.
Right.
And what does he know? Huh? You know, he's read it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I started backing off, started doing what they asked. And I felt that my work was not good at that point. You know, I started having customers, dressage customers saying that they've lost propulsion, they've done this, they've done that, something.
There's your proof in the pudding, right?
As most guys, we take it all home. I'm sitting there at home and I'm thinking, what am I doing? My family, go back quite a way with horseshoeing, and they don't shoe like that. Why am I being pressured? So I decided the next morning, new me, back to the old me. The next client that wanted me to produce what I wanted, I said, can we meet with the vet, please? Sure, So we made another arrangement to shoe the horse, and I met him there, and he's very, very good vet, good horse vet. In my opinion, I think he had just, was a bit tunnel vision with where...
This is where breakover is.
This is where breakover is. He says, right, you need to be, that needs to be there. I said, okay, so, and I just got my trimmers around the toe, and I said, so it doesn't need this. I can whip this off, yeah? He was like, whoa, no, I don't know. And I said, well, you're effectively saying to me it doesn't need this. It's not weight bearing or anything. I can just nip this off, can't I? He said, well, I think we're going to be in some blood there. And I said, we're definitely going to be in some blood there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to protect from excessive wear the animal's hoof, and we'll see how we go from there. He was like, well, yeah, actually, will you do what you think's best? So that's what I've been doing since.
Yeah.
He was a very good vet. He helped me a lot with hindfoot shoeing, and that particular vet.
Like through rads and stuff like that?
Basically, he said, you're really good. You're getting these front feet shut up really, really nice. I'm really, really pleased with this after alternative ideas. He's like, I'm really pleased with these. He said, but you have a bit of a rest on the hinds. And I thought, what do you mean by that? And I wasn't shoeing the whole box, like you do in front, make sure all, so you can't see any quarters and that sort of thing. The hinds, I was always taught, safe. I think I was hunter fitting a bit too much.
Right. Especially that medial side.
He said, can we just watch this trot, blah, blah, blah. And so we watched things trot up, and he said, if the still disappears, you haven't got too much. As it walks away, the still disappears, you haven't got too much. Oh, what the fuck does he mean by that? So we watched this animal, and I actually had the opportunity of working with a very good team farrier, Hayden Price. At
Oh,
the
okay.
time.
Yeah, yeah.
He came up with the same line. I thought, right, this means something. So I shod, especially dressage horses, show jumpers. I shod them a lot more balanced, a lot more to the widest point.
Right.
Still fit my toe the same, but the back half of the foot was, just I haven't lost my safety, but a lot more supportive.
Right.
They're pushing off of it, aren't they? These jumpers, the dressage horses, exactly the same. They're on a surface, so you really want a surface reaction shoe, so 3/4 full-head instead of your concave, all that sort of thing starts to come into play, and then all of a sudden I'm showing these horses better. This is going better feedback from the rider and trainers and stuff like that.
So would you find, just to delve into that a little more, so say on the medial side where we tend to, if we're thinking safe, we will fit really tight there, which in not too long of a period of time, they can grow over the shoe, or even in landing and stuff, it will push over. So do you find would you start boxing a little bit on the medial side?
No, I actually, again, something that Hayden showed me, he said, just box that shoe first.
And then fit it.
Grind that inside up first and then fit it.
Huh.
So you grind it up, it's all shiny. You put it in the fire, it dulls it off. Go to the foot, it just doesn't look as scary.
Right, yeah.
And when you watch an animal trot away, you can watch that fetlock drop to the inside if you haven't got enough support on the inside.
Huh.
And, he said, see how much that fetlock now, straight down through the centre, because you've supported the whole hoof, sort of thing.
Now, something that has become quite popular in my neck of the woods is lots of lateral support. Now, do you think that if you go too far in that direction, even if you have shod for the medial side in the way you're talking, do you find that still would push the fetlock towards the inside?
Obviously, if you've gone over the top, we've had that fashion also.
Yeah.
Welding stuff on and that. I tend to shoe with lateral support, not a lateral extension. If it wants an extension, it's extending from the outside wall where it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite out there, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can just go a little over the top with that.
Yeah.
And be counterproductive of what we want. And also, it didn't come that unbalanced in a shoeing. So you're not going to fix it in a shoeing.
Right. Yeah.
So I think that's another thing that I, tend to go by. My old boss used to say that wall didn't fold over in the last 6 weeks. We're not going to fix that in the next 6 minutes.
Right. Yeah. So subtle changes.
So I think subtle changes, and it's the same as yourself. And you buy a brand new pair of boots, the corners haven't been knocked off and what have you. They're a little uncomfortable and a little too square, aren't they? And
yeah,
they haven't creased up nicely and what have you. You wear a pair that's been worn a couple of days, different kettle of fish, aren't they?
Right. Yeah. Okay. So even when you say lateral support, then you might even broaden the branch.
I do a lot of that. You have a lot of animals that use their hocks an awful lot, show jumpers and eventers. I show a lot of eventers. These animals that's a tough old task.
Right.
With the 3 different, disciplines, and you've got to cover that in a shoeing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of them have a lateral heel weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Just through the conformation and what the discipline that the animal's doing. So it might not be any fault of your own shoeing wise, but I just find as they get further and further down the line, they can start getting to 5-star. You've really got to start putting extra effort in,
mm-hmm.
and especially on the hind. So there's a lot of animals that I would run a fuller down or whatever as a norm. If you've got a inch section on there and you're putting 1 1/8 inch on now with a bit of boxing, you can hammer box it, get a little bit more out.
Mm-hmm.
As a norm, it's in a heat. I'll run a fuller down and then punch a stud hole in it in the same heat. It's not something you've really got a massive amount of effort in. You can achieve it in a fitting heat sort of thing.
Right.
But it's just that bit, I think, just to fill the box, as it were.
Right.
Make sure your shoe is in that outside corner instead of coming under to follow the heel. If you're out of your square, you need a broader heel to achieve what you're trying to get, in my opinion.
Yep. No, that's kind of my thoughts on it too. So that's why I was asking. Now, your father was a farrier as well.
That's correct, yes.
And how far down the line does farriery go?
My father started it.
Okay.
His father was an engineer, but he started it through his love of hackney horses. He worked for a massive hackney stud when he was a kid, and they needed the shoeing to be better than what they were getting for these top show animals. So he went back to London, where he's from, trained to be a farrier because he went back to where he knew, trained to be a farrier, and then just stuck to the shoeing. He carried on shoeing those hackney horses for many, many years.
Yeah.
Even when they moved miles and miles away, they wouldn't let anybody else shoe them. They wanted him to carry on. He had an affinity with them. They can be funny characters.
Yes, they can. Yeah. Different personalities.
Different personalities, yeah. And Dad got on with them really well. And he just understood how much to take off, how much weight to put on. It's not all about just putting a massive toe on and whatnot to get these animals to move the way they wanted to move. He had a very good eye for it. So, yeah, he did that. Working with that stud, he met my uncle, who became his best buddy, and he trained him to shoe. So my uncle was then a farrier. He trained his eldest son, Peter, who trained me and my brother.
Wow.
And now his son. And now I've trained my son.
Wow. You guys are taking over.
Yeah, there's a few of us about.
Now, all with the last name Hayter?
No,
okay.
We have Hayters and Marleys.
Marleys. Okay, got you. Yeah, that's right. I remember from earlier. Cool. This is the Stratum Tectorium. Short answer questions brought to you by Out West Design and Fabrication. Your choice for farrier rigs. What's your favorite book?
My favorite book, I don't do a lot of reading, if I'm totally honest, but I do like the Simon Curtis books.
Yeah.
So a set of books. They are very good and very good, informative, educational.
The full library.
Yeah.
Favorite brand of nails?
Mustad.
What shoe sizes or lengths do you have to cut or generally keep stock of?
Our most common would be 12.5, 7838 up to 13.5 in 7838. That's most of our eventers and
right.
And then we have hunters and everything else. We would use between 12.5 and 13.5. We would use several pairs of them, fronts and hinds, every day.
Okay, gotcha. Favorite make of rasp? It's a contentious issue.
Yeah. At the moment, we are using the Heller Original, which I like. The greens just, have got issues, haven't they, at the moment? So I like those. I like the width for trimming the bottom of the hoof. But my son is now back on the save edge, which is what we always used to use.
Oh, okay.
And he's like, I love these save edge. You need to buy these save edges. They're really expensive.
Oh, I guess because they're coming across the pond.
Yeah, I think if you're clenching, the wider rasp, you tend to go up the foot unintentionally.
Right.
And the save edge doesn't do that because it's much narrower. So there's definitely pros and cons. And the save edge, without a doubt, go to a hot rasp better.
Okay.
I find that the smaller teeth aren't as productive with the hot rasping of the Hellers. They're good though. I like the Heller Original. I do like that rasp.
Yeah, it's hard to find a tool that'll do everything, even within the limited range of a rasp, right?
Yeah.
Do you have a dream farrier rig?
I had what I always thought was my dream farrier rig, which is obviously American style. I bought it off an American from Ireland. Don't ask it. And it was basically a flatbed truck with an aluminium body on, all sides open, the back open. You could get to, and I had 5 guys working for me at the time.
Oh, wow.
So it was brilliant because everybody had a workstation.
And weren't clamoring over each other?
No, and they're not clambering over it, and no one's waiting to use a drill because they're around the other side of the vehicle, and no one's getting wet in our country. We like rain. We don't like the rain, but we
you
have
don't have
it.
a choice.
So to be sheltered from the rain and still be able to work and stuff with several guys working was absolutely brilliant. Apart from there was several of our British little yards where you couldn't open one side
Yeah, right. Yep.
because the yards, it's up against the stable, or you got to lead horses through there, or all that sort of thing. So that it became very limited to where we could actually use it to its full potential.
Right.
So that's what made me go back to a panel van like I have now.
Okay.
It's kitted out pretty well, but I do miss my being able to have guys work either side and not in your way, and you can't have it all.
It is what it is. Now, with the van, so after going from cover like that, did you put an awning or anything on the van?
Oh, it has a tailgate.
Does it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So I stay dry.
Right. Very important.
Anybody working in the side door, it's a sliding door. They're not so covered.
Not so much. Okay. Yeah, I just wondered because I've noticed I always check out the rigs in the parking lot at these events, and I've noticed not many awnings or tailgates. So you guys are much braver than I am. I'm a bit of a princess when it comes to getting wet. Favorite rounding hammer?
I call me Julie. It's a 2.5 pound Derek Gardner that I've had for many, many years. And it is my favourite hammer. I've got every walk of life of hammer because I go to every competition. I think, oh, that hammer's good. That's going to change my forging ability.
Right.
After a few weeks, I go back to my Julie because it's just my hammer. It just is.
Now, Julie's the nickname for it? How did you come up with Julie?
It's from a character, Ali G.
Oh, okay.
Me Julie.
Yeah.
It's me Julie. It was from then.
I nickname all my anvils. So you're the first person I've heard for hammers, but that's great. Favorite type of bar stock to work with?
My favourite, as I'm older now, is now 3/4 3/8 concave.
Yeah.
I spin that all day, just 3 heat shoes.
Okay.
George's is still 7/87 because he's just a buffalo and he couldn't do it. Whereas I'm down to 3/4 3/8 now.
I suspected you were going to say 3/8 but now I get it. Favorite pastime after work?
I like to go rugby training with my son. He goes out in the field and trains, and I sit in the bar. Yeah, just relaxing, having beer with some friends and stuff. I don't play golf or anything like that. So I like to shoot if I can during the season, but I don't find time enough.
It sounds like you're pretty busy. What's the next thing on your bucket list?
On my bucket list is to spend some time with my peers, just go and shoeing with them. Just phone them up, say, can I come shoeing with you for 2 or 3 days? That is on my bucket list because some of them are retiring now.
Right, yeah.
I heard this week 2 of my absolute peers retiring from shoeing. I've kind of missed the boat there. I wanted to go and just work with them. I enjoy it, and I'm still learning. You still learn from these guys. They've been under horses many years, and they still kept their standards
right
up. So
it seems to be quite the thing right now, doesn't it? Like a lot of people are retiring, it seems.
Yeah, can't blame them, really.
No, it's true. But I think the farrier world's going to be in a bit of a hot mess if they don't get replaced.
Yeah.
Favorite brand of factory-made shoe?
My favorite is the Handmade Shoes Original Concave.
Okay, yeah. Those are a nice shoe. Hard to get over in North America for a while there, but...
Yeah, hard to get all round, really.
Are they?
Yeah, I think they're just under demand, aren't they?
Okay. Ideal number of horses to shoe all around in one day?
My son and I differ on this. He still gets excited about a long line, and I can only think about going home. So if I'm on my own, which is not very often, but every now and again, I can, George go and do numbers with the guys, and I can, between 4 and 5 is a nice number. I can shoe them up in handmade shoes and feel I've kept my standards up, and I'm pleased with every job I drive away from. You're only as good as your last job, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, I completely agree. Favorite anvil?
My favourite amble is the JHM amble. It's not what I use at home, but only because I'm a tight git and won't buy myself a new one.
George, you just heard your dad's Christmas gift.
Yes. I like using those. We've got 6 of those at a competition that myself and my wife run down in West Sussex, just up the road from us. And a number of years ago now, with Stevie Fisher, he was running it at the time, got the money together and bought 6 of these ambles. And I think they're just a good all-round, proper good amble.
Okay. Isn't that what the gas forging is running off of right now?
I think so, yeah.
Favorite inspirational quote? I've heard a few from your father so far.
He had so many. My favourite is when things are going wrong. And he would say, that's why cars have bumpers and pencils have rubbers, because humans will always make mistakes.
I like that too. I haven't heard that before. Do you have a Farrier Terrier, a dog that comes along with you?
I used to, but now we have my son's little pigeon, where her name's Paige actually, but I call her Pigeon because when he first got her, she sat in his hand and she looked like a little pigeon sat in his hand. She's a lovely little patterdale.
Oh, okay.
Full of life and a fair character.
Yeah, they become more of a component of your team than you expect, don't they? If you were ever stumped on a case or needed backup, who would you call?
Would have been my father, but nowadays I generally speak to Andrew because there's not a lot he hasn't come across.
Mm-hmm. That's Andrew Casterly.
Yeah, Andrew Casterly, that's correct.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite shoe or package for mystery lameness?
I would have said the third millennium frog support pad.
Right.
I've just had really good results of those. Just the flat pad. It's great for the eventers because the frog support is we call them Christmas trees because it looks like a Christmas tree stuck in the middle.
Yeah, yeah.
And that gives great grip because when you take out the concavity of the natural hoof, get them on a bit of wet grass, they're slipping about all over the place. And I found that you can ease the load, share the load across the frog and the sole with those with a bit of impression material underneath. And I've had some great results with those. And also with the new, the Jim Blurton ones, what they call the 3D.
Yeah.
Again, had the same with those. But the frog support is great in them, but it's not quite as grippy on the turf as
because of the material.
It's just not those third millennium ones. They just have that frog support, gives good grip too, and I have less complaints of slipping once you put pads in.
Right.
With them. So as an all-round, I would say they're my go-to.
Okay.
If you need to unload some heels and stuff, share a bit of loading over the other structures that don't want to be constantly loaded, but you can share it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I find that myself. That dental impression was a game changer for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A number of years ago, we started using that. Feet were rotting all over the place. We stopped using it until someone showed me copper sulfate.
Yeah.
That was the
magic blue dust.
Magic blue dust. That's it. Yeah. Mix it with antibacterial gel or even Vaseline. Just mix it with Vaseline. Makes it spreadable, so it doesn't fall off the hoof when you shake it on.
Right.
We just spread it on. It goes in the lateral sulci and what have you, and it just keeps that foot fresh. You can cover it up with your pressure material. It really is. That's the game changer for me. Not having a soft, wet rot thing when you come back to it.
Yeah, some of my healthiest feet are in pads, but it was because I started using copper sulfate because, sometimes you'd pull the pads off. I'm like, did I do this horse a favor? Or?
Yeah, did I do a favor or not?
What do you use as your planner or diary, you guys say over here?
Yeah, diary.
Just, handwritten.
Handwritten diary, yeah.
Favorite method of soothing aches and pains?
I have now been older. I have a massage bed at home.
Yeah.
That I just set it on the highest setting and just lay there and do a double whammy. It's a quarter of an hour each run, but I just set it for half an hour. I just lay there and it just...
Game changer.
Yeah, it's an absolute game changer. It's, it's like getting a proper massage.
Yeah.
Proper good, that is.
Favorite drink?
At home, I generally drink Budweiser beer.
Yeah.
But, they're quick and easy, twist cap.
Yeah.
You buy them in boxes of 15 bottles for not a stupid amount of money, so that, you can stock the forge fridge up. It doesn't matter who's coming round. They all know we drink it, so they generally bring a box, so fridge is stocked
Always
with that.
stocked, yeah.
So, yeah, I'd say I drink more than that.
Okay. I'm surprised with that being, it's an American product, right?
Yeah. King of beers, is it not?
Yeah. Oh, there we go. They did market to this area. Do you have a favorite song?
My favorite song is Free Bird by Leonard Skinner.
Okay. What would you have been if not a farrier?
A mess, I would have thought.
Yeah, I feel like this would be a tough question for you.
If I'm totally honest, I thought about being a scrap dealer for a bit because I just hated every single day of school. Absolutely hated it from start to finish. And I wasn't a great pupil, apart from Friday afternoons was double metal work, so always did that. But, I wasn't a great student and I absolutely hated it. We weren't forced to do this job at all. My brother and I were not forced, but you could tell it was what would have been liked.
Right.
So I thought to myself, what if I hate it? What if it's like school?
Right.
And I wake up feeling this way every day. Oh my God. Why don't I just become a scrap dealer? Because I won't need any exams. All I do is just go around, pick up tut and sell it to someone else.
Well, I'm glad that you got into this instead. Yeah.
I'd grown up messing about in Dad's forge and what have you. And then when it came to quite a young age, actually, it came to a summer holiday and I wanted to go with Dad. And he was like, why don't you go with your cousin? He's a young man. Go with him. He'll have more time for you. So I did that. We were going hunting and ferreting and all sorts. We were doing quite a bit together with that sort of thing. And then after a while, he'd be like, well, we've just got a couple to do before I drop you off. And then after a while, rather than you stand there and watch me, why don't you take some shoes off? And it just went from there. So I was underneath horses quite sort of young. I got quite handy at it and what have you. And as soon as I was out of school, I was straight in.
That's what you were going to do.
That was what I was going to do.
Yeah.
Back then, it was a lot of time in the forge. We had every Monday in the forge, shoemaking.
Okay.
Everybody seemed to. And I spent probably my first year, most of the week in the forge, making sure I got that grounding of shoemaking under my belt, proper understanding, shape. And I think that's what set me in good stead and gave me just the love of the forge.
Right.
Just being in there and doing it.
I'm a little jealous of your start. I missed that baseline and then had to relearn my mistakes as I went along, right? What do you use as your knives?
My go-to is just the mustard, cheap, narrow blade, straight blade, left and right.
Yeah.
They're my go-to, but I'm fast running out of them. I seem to struggle getting hold of them. I suppose mustard want to use Grants, which I have had. I won some, and they're really good knives.
Right.
Just a bit tight.
Yeah, they're way more expensive than the others.
Yeah, they're not 13 quid, are they?
Nope.
That's what I'm using at the moment. I'm fast running out of my supply.
Okay. You just heard that, Mustad. Crank some more out. And then the last question, the COVID question. If you were going to be stuck in a shop with somebody for a month, who would you want it to be?
One person. If it was at all possible, obviously it's not, but it would be my father.
Yeah.
Just to have him back.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. This has been great.
Thank you.
Before I let you go, I wanted to say a few words about a huge supporter of this podcast, Out West Design and Fabrication. As I'm sure you've heard me mention before, I had Logan and Spencer over at Out West build some components for the interior of my new Sprinter van. I've been using that van and those components for at least 6 months now and couldn't be happier. I get many compliments from my clients and other farriers on how good it looks. We as farriers are very unique individuals. We all have our different ways of doing things, including our workflows. And there is nothing that makes you more efficient and comfortable in a typically uncomfortable job than having a custom layout of your workspace. The way I see it, we as farriers work really hard to earn a living. So why not make the things that can be easy, easier? If you would like to make an investment in your business and yourself, I would highly recommend that you reach out to Out West Design and Fabrication to start designing your dream farrier rig today. Look them up on Facebook or give them a call at 403-559-6533. Well, thanks again for listening. Until next time, take care of yourselves and each other out there. We'll talk soon.